All right, we're recording. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to the call tonight. So excited to have every one of you join. I know that it is an honor to have you all on here because we know we're taking time away from your family, but you know what? You're investing in you and your business, and you're on here because you want to further that. And so that's really exciting for us. Tonight, we have an amazing guest speaker, Carrie Spratley, who is a holistic health coach, a sweet friend of mine, an Emerald Ambassador with the company. And in just a second, I'm going to turn this entire call over to her. But I want to touch on just a couple things tonight before we let her have the floor. Because I have a lot of you on here tonight, I want to remind you that we do have a brand new back office. So many of you have been able to log in and get things going really easily. Some of you have had a little bit of issue, but we've been able to make that resolution very quickly. So guys, just a quick reminder, tonight at 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, which is Arizona time, our back office will be shut off for 1 hour for them to do some updates because they fix things so quick now when we find little things that are going wrong. It's so nice. And then we'll be back up at 11. So whenever you get into this new back office, you're going to find it's very easy to maneuver. And I want you guys to know that there is an option in there called the Ambassador Help Center, and it's really helpful. When you open up your back office and go to your dashboard, there's some tabs on the side. When you click those, you're going to see things that you can get into your reports and stuff like that. Look all the way to the bottom, and you will see that it says Ambassador Help Center. You can click that and find lots of answers to your questions. So I really just wanted to touch on that, say how excited I was about this new back office. The changes that they're giving us are so incredible. And remind you guys to keep pushing for that November 15th deadline to earn that planner. So now that we've got those little minor housekeeping things out of the way, let's get to the real reason you're on this call tonight. The amazing Carrie Spratley. She is going to tell you a little bit about her story, and then she's going to talk to us about the exciting points that Plexus really gets into on a cellular level and anything else that she wants to share with us. She is so amazing, so knowledgeable, and we are so blessed to have her on the call tonight. So, Carrie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you. It's definitely an honor and a pleasure to be with your team tonight, Dusty. And anytime I get an opportunity to talk about my passion, which is health and wellness, I'm tickled pink. So thank you for allowing me to share such a vulnerable and intimate aspect of our life. Gosh, our health is just so important. And if we don't have our health, we just don't have a whole lot, right? So my journey has been just one that I'm definitely super grateful for. The reason why I share passionately about the whole health and wellness arena is because I am very grateful for the changes that the Plexus products have brought to my life. I was battling an autoimmune illness when Plexus came into my life. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. I know Dusty has, I'm sure, shared her story many, many times about autoimmunity. So definitely, it's a very, passionate subject of mine, especially since the battle was so unique and so intense for me and for my family, because I was in my early 30s at the time. This was 15 years ago when I got my diagnosis, and it really didn't make a lot of sense why my body shut down at the capacity that it did. I was really in the prime of my life. I have 3 boys. They were 10, 8, and 2 at the time. And it was, very frustrating to have the magnitude of inflammation and fatigue in my body. My autoimmune illness is called Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's is the autoimmune illness for the thyroid. And, thyroid is a hormone that controls a lot of things that really do impact your quality of life. But fatigue was definitely something that it was in control for me. The first thing I thought of when I got out of bed, because I didn't sleep well, was when can I get back in? So I tried a lot of things in the holistic arena. I got my care from a local homeopath medical doctor. So he was a combination of Eastern and Western medicine. And we tried a lot of things. We spent a lot of money. And, every time it was just, just a little bit of hope would go away out the window with everything that we tried. So really when Plexus came along, I often say I had about an ounce of hope left. because I finally had kind of come to that place where I was like, gosh, is this just going to be my cross to bear in life? I've just tried so many things, and I had a very, what I call a very disciplined, clean diet for 10 years. I was gluten-free, corn-free, pork-free, dairy-free, very, very minimal sugar. I was not an alcohol drinker, avid water drinker, exerciser, marathon runner, in fact, and just hit my wall, hit my head against the wall with the battle with the fatigue, and even weight management was a struggle too. And when you think about that disciplined diet, you're like, where? Because I was like, I just don't know if I can get my diet cleaner, exercise more. What could possibly make this get to a place of healing? I advocated for myself, though. I'm a fighter, and I've got books over here in my library that are like this thick. I studied, I researched. I was not okay with my diagnosis from day one, and that's why I got the care from the doctor that I did, because I was not interested in a pharmaceutical band-aid. I needed to get to the root of it. I needed to fix it. And this is really why Plexus products resonate so much with me, because we are really dealing with the root issue that is facing our society. The 3 root health issues that are facing our society: our blood sugar, our gut health, and our inflammation. I have been to the #1 nutrition school in the world, and we were taught by the leaders in the wellness industry, not the pharmaceutical community, not the medical community, but we were taught that the 3 root health issues we're facing are blood sugar, gut health, and inflammation. So it was such reassuring to know that we are in the right place with the right products addressing the right issues. And it really made sense to me how my body healed so quickly, because I did have the nutrition in place, and really our gut health products and getting the blood sugar imbalanced and getting that inflammation down were just really those last few dominoes that could stand it back up. When we added our multivitamin, I absolutely loved it. It's the only multivitamin I ever noticed a difference with. Our omegas are fantastic, so healing. And we do have a lot of healing properties to our products, and I'm going to kind of elaborate on that a little bit here as we go forward. But ultimately, I'm just super grateful. I did not know autoimmunity was reversible. I took my sister, who's a nurse, on the journey with me, and she also has been symptom-free from her illness for a very, very short period of time after getting on the products. And so we just kind of linked arms together, and we said, we've really got to help as many people as we possibly can, because this illness robs the ability for wives and moms and dads and husbands to be the best version of themselves. And we committed to helping as many people that would listen to us. So I'm grateful for that. And just to be symptom-free from that illness is just so, the magnitude of it is so profound, and I'm so grateful. And that's really what I talk about, is operating out of intentional gratitude for what I've been given. I believe Plexus is a gift. I believe it's needed by everybody. I don't believe there's anyone that's immune to not needing a blood sugar, gut health, or inflammation. So that part of it you don't have to worry about. Plexus has nailed it. The ingredients that that are all carefully chosen in our products are so unique, and so much healing happens with them. It certainly does not happen overnight. I know a lot of people look to my testimony and think they're just going to add in the triplex and all of our great products and expect healing. Well, we are all very bio-individual, and we're all very unique on the inside. We all have different nutrition regimens. We all have different things that impact our ability to heal, stress levels, different things. And so everyone does have the capacity to heal. It's just about the amount of time and discipline and really the value that's placed on each of our lives, of whether or not we believe we're worthy of being well is super impactful for our opportunity to be well. It's definitely a question I ask people when I start working with them is, do you believe you're capable of being free from this? Because the mindset is so powerful, and if a person doesn't believe they're being worthy of being set free, it's going to be a rough road. And then, we just hope and pray that as our products unfold in their bodies, that they give us the amount of time it takes to heal. So, when I got diagnosed with my illness, there was 100 autoimmune illnesses diagnosed. Now we have over 200. So the magnitude is growing. And where we're at with our nutrition is leaps and bounds differently from where we were 20 or 30 years ago. I'll talk about that here in just a second, but we're in a different place in a different time. When we're helping with people, we've got a lot of branding to our products that are healthy weight management. Plexus Slim. I mean, it doesn't get more healthy weight management than that. And when we talk about that, there's a lot of things that go into that. And it's important that we help people kind of hone in as excited as they get by our branding and what the products do in the weight loss arena. We've really got to help them understand the scope of how that happens. But we don't want to get too scientific and too biological on them. Really, people just want to know, gosh, Carrie, does it work? And the answer is yes. You just give me the time and the efforts, and if anybody tells you that just add this supplement to your nutrition regimen and you're good to go, that's not truthful. There is some changes that are going to need to take place, but the great thing is that the products, as your body heal, makes it easier. I'll give you an example of that. My husband was actually the first person in our household to use these products for healthy weight, and he turned his 8 o'clock bowl of Captain Crunch, which he called dessert, into apples. He used to go to our pantry and pour himself a bowl of sugary cereal and call it dessert. And then one night he was like, gosh, I'm craving something, but it's not like sweet like a bowl of cereal. He's like, I want like a piece of fruit. And I was like, who are you? But that change is very unique, and it's what I call cyclical changes in the body. And if we pay attention to those cyclical changes, a lot of great things can spool into control, not out of control, but the domino effect of getting into balance will become so much easier when we implement that nutrition component. So I'm going to tell you a story. I'm actually going to tell you 2 stories first before I get into the biological aspect of cellular level and microbes and all that good stuff. First story is, so I have 3 boys. They are now 24, 22, and 16 and a half. Our 22-year-old, when he was in 2nd grade, he was going to school, and one day we showed up at his school, and his teacher had died. And she was in her late 50s, early 60s. And it was just such a shock because she was this vibrant looking, super happy gal who I loved and adored because she was just a great connector. She was just really personal and just a great lady. So just, it broke my heart. And when I learned of her passing, and actually what took her life was a condition called septicemia, which is sepsis, basically. And it was from her not going to the bathroom. Number 2. So she got toxic. She was not eliminating her bowels on the regularity that she was supposed to, and that poisoned her blood, and she died. And folks, that was 20 years ago. And people really shouldn't be dying of something like that, even 20 years ago, much less today. But it just shows you the magnitude of how when we don't take control of just a simple daily lifestyle habit of just eliminating our bowels, how it can spool our body out of control, and death can occur. And it happens like that. And I do have a young gal on my team. She's in her late 20s, early 30s, young mama. And I met with her probably about 6 or 8 months ago, and she's just a wholesale ambassador, kind of somewhere down the line, 3 or 4 levels deep for me, but she invited me to meet with her, and she shared this story with me about how, and she's tiny little frame of a girl, about how she did not go number 2, but once a month. And she sat there with tears in her eyes, just crying about the difference that our gut health products had made in her life. And she goes, you don't understand how very painful it is when you don't go to the bathroom when you're supposed to. And I was like, I can't even imagine, because she's very thin, tiny frame. I'm like, where did you put all of this food in your body that just never left, and so toxic? And it kind of resonated with me with this story about Garrett's teacher, about this young mama could be in that same position if she doesn't get this under control. And thankfully she was. I mean, obviously we had helped her, and she was working in the direction of healing. So it's a huge impact that we have on people. We not only change the quality of their lives, but in a lot of cases, we are life-saving for people. What we offer is life-saving, life-changing. The other story I wanted to tell you was about a friend of ours whose father, in his early 70s, passed away a few years ago. And the reason, or what took his life, was he got a sinus infection. And they gave him an antibiotic. And a couple weeks later, the sinus infection was still there. So they gave him another antibiotic. And that antibiotic didn't take care of it. 9 antibiotics later, he died of a yeast overgrowth in his body because he had gone from antibiotic to antibiotic to antibiotic, and it took away every good bacteria that he had in his body, and it left his immune system completely vulnerable to where he died of yeast overgrowth. People, we don't die of yeast overgrowth today. But when the medical community is in charge of diagnosing things like this and how quickly it spools out of control, it just blows my mind that we have the ability and the power to advocate and to educate. I really, really connotate away from the word sales. I realize that we're exchanging money for a product, and that is what we call sales. But when you think of it in a different way, that you're actually just providing education and information for people to chew on and digest, and whether or not it's something that can impact them or something that they need. Ultimately, there's a lot of things that are structured through a network marketing model. A lot of them are what I call luxury items: jewelry, Tupperware, candles. Lovely, lovely things, but they're not game changers for the ability to save people's lives. And so I really want you to own the fact that what you have, and let that be your passion, is we have products that change the quality of people's lives. We give moms the ability to spring out of bed and do everything that they need to do for their families, for dads to get through their day and come home and be that provider, and then still have enough energy to be with their family, and immune systems that are strong to not miss a ton of work and suffer financially. And then we've got this whole financial picture that we offer too that is just mind-blowing and such an amazing blessing for those who truly believe that this is an incredible platform for financial freedom. When you pair our health and our financial freedom together, to me, it's really one of the most amazing combinations out there, because you're simultaneously giving yourself a platform to not only be a better version of you, but let that ripple effect be extremely, extremely profound in a wide variety of attributes to give people just life back. So I wanted to share those few things with you first. So we're going to talk about cellular level. We're going to talk about microbes. We're going to talk about oxygenation. Y'all know about our BioCleanse and how it oxygenates the body. It's difficult for cancer to, really any unhealthy pathogen to grow or thrive in an oxygenated state. And so it's more than just getting those bowels to move on a regular basis. It's actually providing an environment that's unfriendly for unhealthy pathogens to proliferate and grow. So we're going to touch on that a little bit as well. So, the question is why? And people don't ask the question often enough, why, when they're dealing with things in their life that are taking away from their ability to be the best version of themselves with regards to optimal wellness. The question is not asked by the people who are sick or not well, and it's also not often asked by the people who are caring for them. And it's a powerful question to ask that I asked myself 15 years ago. Why, in my early 30s, as a wife and a mother, was I circling the drain? And that question is powerful when you're working with people and with yourself, is why is this happening, and what could possibly be the root here? Not how can I make this symptom go away, but really, why is this happening? And it's powerful for you, and it's going to be powerful for the people that you're working with to ask that powerful question about why is this happening? And it'll be powerful for your journey to help unpack that for yourself and for other people, because it's powerful when you ask that question, why? Okay? So we are so compromised today than we ever have been before. How come we can't simply just do diet and exercise to help achieve a healthy weight anymore? Why can't we do that? Why can't just getting a healthier diet and exercise help us be the better version of ourselves? Why is that not enough anymore? Well, I'm going to kind of unpack it for you. And the fact is, in the early 1900s, we had a meat shortage. And so that meat shortage in the early 1950s is when the antibiotics entered the scene for our nutrition, our food supply, because they found that antibiotics were allowing the cattle and the poultry to grow larger, and they were getting higher volume out of that food supply. And so we had a shortage. They figured out a way to make it go away, but the downside was that it sent our society into a downward spiral of events. Back in 2001, 90% of our antibiotic usage in our society came from our food. We're back down to 80% now, but that is alarming because if you think about it, every time you go to a restaurant, I mean, assuming that we buy antibiotic-free and hormone-free meat for our households from what we get at the grocery store, what we're doing when we dine out is not, because they're just going with the cheapest grade meat, poultry, egg, all of that there. So we are, and it takes our body about a year to recover from one round of antibiotics to repopulate that gut health with the right bacteria. So we are constantly damaging. About that same time, they also discovered growth hormones. So synthetic testosterone, synthetic estrogen, synthetic progesterone, these were all added to our meat and dairy and poultry supply. And these are what we call fake hormones, and they mimic, and they're called what's called fake xenoestrogens, basically fake hormones that produce an estrogen-dominant effect in our bodies. And it's why all of our young girls are going through puberty at earlier and earlier ages, because these girls are getting massive amounts of fake hormones added to their body. I mean, we have natural occurring testosterone and estrogen in our bodies, but when you add growth hormones that are coming in through our food supply, that is coming into our bodies. It's just foolish to think that it's in the food that we're eating, but it doesn't enter our body. It most certainly does. It enters our bloodstream. It enters our cells. And so we're going to talk about how that impacts us on a cellular level too. So the other thing that impacted our society with our health years ago was in the 60s, we introduced this box that we put on the counter that made our food cook quicker. You remember what that was? The microwave, yes. And we were demanding everything faster and stronger, and let's do this quick. And it just amazes me how we advance with technology, yet we become more and more strapped for time. So that really has hurt us as a society to demand faster, stronger, quicker things, and it's compromised our health in a lot of profound ways. So we have 100 trillion bacterial cells, what we call our microbiome, in our ecosystem. So our whole digestive system, the second brain of our body is our gut health. There's 100 trillion bacterial cells there. So when we talk about plexus working on a cellular level, we have bacterial cells in our ecosystem, which is where our immune system is. And then we have about a third of that we have just specifically that are just cells in our body. So we have more bacterial cells, microbiome, than we do actually cells in our body. So it's outnumbering the impact that it can have on our body. So it's definitely profound, and we do have illness, and we do have impurities in our body on a cellular level. So we're going to talk about that first of all as it relates to our blood glucose. So we have our famous pink drink, right, that helps regulate our blood glucose. Okay, so let's talk about type 2 diabetes, because 1 in 3 people are struggling for healthy blood glucose in relationship to type 2 diabetes. So cellular damage of the transportation of the sugar in our blood is type 2 diabetes. The cellular damage of the transportation of the sugar in our blood is what's called diabetes. So poor diet puts stress on the pancreas. When the pancreas is overworked, we store fat, okay? And then weight goes up. And then the pancreas is in overdrive and produces more insulin. And then we have cellular dysfunction there because our blood glucose is not going into the cells, okay? And so when we balance our blood glucose, it takes the burden off the pancreas. And therefore, we're not in a state where we're taxing the pancreas and we're minimizing the impact for the potential for there to be diabetes. Does that make sense? Okay. But there still, however, is this nutritional component to blood glucose regulation. So there is so much that our body can do and process. But I always say you can out eat our pink drink. In other words, just because you put this product in your body doesn't mean you're going to get max benefit from it to where it's completely healing. There is a reason why we got in that place in the first place, right? It's because of our nutrition. So there is a component to our nutrition that really has to come alongside this plan to help bring that blood glucose to the level of our cells in a healthier manner. So you hear people potentially that say, you know, I've added this pink drink, but my numbers are still high. Well, the next question is, well, let's talk about your nutrition, because Plexus really is doing its part, but there still possibly is some need for some nutritional changes. In other words, if anybody tells you that you can add a supplement to your body and it will completely fix, that is a lie. That is a total lie. There is things that we need to do in response to helping our body heal. And we can have even people who are clean eaters and doing all the right things, but if they're not eliminating their bowels, they're not getting nutrient absorption from their beets and their kale, and they're not getting max benefits. So there is this component that has to come alongside that, where nutrition is powerful, and it does play a key role. So keep that in mind when you're working with people, and maybe even for your own wellness journey, because I'm sure we do have a lot of people who, of course, are just happy with these products and are, you know, just love to learn more about them, and I value that. But there is this part that really we need to do on our part. The cool thing is that it works in cycles. So the thing about you know, what I talked about, how Eric made the change from the Captain Crunch to the apple, is really the more good you put in your body, you crowd out the bad stuff. So you put in the apple, it crowds out the Captain Crunch. You put in the salad, it crowds out the Cheetos. So everything that you do to crowd out the bad guys by putting in good, those cycles will change, and those nutritional desires will change as our body gets into balance. As you put in Probio 5 to your body and you're killing off that excess yeast overgrowth, you're going to get healing, and that desire for sugar and carbohydrates will change. You've got to pay attention to that. There is a component of that. So when you're working with people and helping them dial in optimal wellness, it's a great question to ask, powerful question to ask, is how are we working to come alongside this product and really get max benefit? Because it's like scratching the surface when you add the product, but when you add in the nutrition component, it's like boom. That's when all the heavens open up and where the complete healing can happen. There's also a 120-day life cycle to our red blood cells in their regeneration. So that's why people will get some, you know, people who are struggling with blood glucose regulation will get some immediate benefits, whether they're health benefits of sleeping better or better energy. Maybe their blood sugar numbers start to improve, but in 30 days, they're not going to get reversal of diabetes. It takes 120 days for our red blood cells to regenerate, which is more of a reasonable time, really, where numbers consistently start working in the direction of healing, where you'll get more tangible. So like, you know, I'm sure you've heard of the test, the blood test for diabetes. It's called an A1C, which is like a 3-month window into blood sugar. So that's a better opportunity for a person to see what those average of blood sugars are for 3 months, is that A1C. That's why they do it every 3 months, because it takes that 120 days picture to look at it. And then also for the regeneration of the red blood cells, you need 120 days for it to really show evidence of working in the direction of more tangible benefits. And it's, you know, we have a 60-day money back guarantee with our products, which is awesome. I think it's a great amount of time. I think it's a generous offering. I don't think you go to Whole Foods or Vitamin Shop or GNC or whatever supplement store here, they're not going to give you a 60-day money back guarantee. Our company stands behind their products because they work. I know it's a mindset thing for people. Remember, we talked about that mindset of being worthy and ready for healing when I first started, but it really does take a good 90 days, in my opinion, for really regeneration to happen with the cycles that happen within the gut health and within the blood sugar, because we've got a lot of things happening. Remember, we talked about 100 trillion cells. Do you have a question, or are you just scratching your arm? Oh, okay. All right. So let's talk real quick about type 1 diabetes, because I know that we do have people that we work with in the type 1 diabetes arena. So type 1 diabetes is autoimmune, which means, but it's also not repairable. It's from the beginning, and it can't be fixed. But what happens with type 1 diabetes is that anything that we can do to reduce the long-term insulin impact that the body has. So if we've got someone on an insulin pump, and we can get them back to maybe just doing some, 1 or 2 shots a day versus, their pump constantly regulating, or if we can just get them from, 4 shots to 1 shot a day, anything that we can do to reduce the insulin impact on the body long term, we know that we're helping, the body be able to hang in there longer. It increases the odds of less likely for other illness to occur, like neuropathy, because long-term diabetes damage, we know evidence is neuropathy, which is nerve damage. So anything that we could do to decrease that impact for neuropathy is super, super beneficial. But so type 1 diabetes is pancreatic cell dysfunction. So the cells within the pancreas, that's the autoimmune component, where it's the body is attacking the pancreas, and that's why it has shut down and it will never ever function. But anything that we can do to decrease that insulin need, the better. So just real quick tidbit there on type 1 diabetes. Cancer, we all know, we've all been touched by cancer, either in our lives or immediate family. We've got friends, we've got family. It just seems like every time I turn on Facebook, I have a new friend or family member that's sharing their battle with cancer. Cancer is a cellular disease. Cancer is in our cells. So we have to make sure that we understand the bigger picture with healing and wellness, because our cells impact everything in our body. And it's interestingly enough, when cancer cells are prevalent in the body, it's because they're missing the right microbes, the right good bacteria. And what happens when they're missing that good bacteria is the oxidative stress goes up. So we talk about anything that we can do to impact the oxygenation component to our body, to our blood, to our cells, is minimizing the potential for unhealthy pathogens like cancer cells to proliferate and grow. So the microbiome is important for cancer. The oxygenation component for our body in regards to cancer is important. But here's another component. Sugar feeds cancer. Now, I know that we all have an affectionate love and addiction for sugar in our society. It's definitely a struggle. It's an addiction. It's more addicting than heroin or cocaine, but yet it's so socially acceptable, right? Especially as we go into this time of year. We just finished Halloween, and then we've got Thanksgiving with the pies and all that stuff, and Christmas and pies and all of it. But here's my thing with sugar. I'm all about everything in moderation, but we have to think, what does this do to my body? Is it going to help it heal, or is it going to hurt it? And so sugar feeds cancer. So when we talk about getting our gut healthy to where we're not craving sugar, it's because it's powerful, because when you don't crave it and you don't eat it, then you're putting your body in a position less likely for an unhealthy pathogen like a cancer cell to be proliferative and growing. And that's why the oxygenation component is so powerful. So BioCleanse is so much more of a bigger product than we think. I know we talk about all the, we have fun with our poop emojis and all that. And yes, we need to eliminate our bowels 2 to 3 times per day. That is so important. But gosh, the oxygenation component is powerful, so powerful for our body. Okay, so it's a big deal. I find it interesting, about 10 years ago, I had a friend of mine who passed away from cancer. And I found it interesting when she got her diagnosis, her doctor said, no more meat, no more dairy, and no more sugar. And I thought, okay, so if you don't want to eat meat, dairy, or sugar when you're battling cancer, why would you want to do it before your diagnosis? Like, what is about that? Well, it's because sugar feeds cancer cells, which are obviously prevalent if we're battling cancer. And the hormones that are in the meat and the dairy are also putting our body in a position where we don't want to further feed those cancer cells. So it's so important that we look at the bigger picture, that we try to hone in our wellness and hone in and help people dial in as much as we can on this journey. We're on a marathon. We're not on a sprint. We work in the direction of progress, not perfection. Perfection is too high of a bar. If you're working for perfection, very few people are going to identify with perfection, but we're just real people, and we have fantastic products that give us a little bit of freedom from time to time to have some fun foods and celebrate, but then we hone it back in, and because we've got these amazing products on board, it's not going to spiral us out of control. So periodic indulgences are okay if they have to happen, but obviously anything that we can do to get our body in a better position long term, bigger picture of being the best version of us and here for as long as we possibly can to have impact on our society and what God put us here for is super powerful. So another tidbit of information, just side note on, I don't know if where you guys live, it's definitely prevalent where I'm at in Northern Nevada, but we have a lot of dialysis centers kind of everywhere. And that really kind of caused my body to go, or my brain to go, what's happened? Why are so many people in kidney failure? So I started doing research because I also got a client who was battling kidney disease and did a lot of research. And believe it or not, man, it came right back down to the gut microbiome. And I thought, wow, it really does make sense. We have so many people that are battling kidney disease, and look at what happened to our food supply 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that changed the trajectory of so many health issues. But the good news is, this is not doomsday. This is, yay, we have hope. We have the solution for so many things. Obviously, we're not running around promising to treat or cure illness, but by gosh, we have things that really can impact people and help change the quality of their life. It's just so profound. I just want you guys to know that we're just scratching the surface at Plexus Worldwide. I have so much trust and faith and confidence that what they continue to roll out for us is what our society needs. I mean, just the vital biome that they released to us, the fact that they did the research and those are the 8 most needed strains by our society, 200 scientific research studies on those 8 strains, and look at the impact that it's had on our microbiome, especially with people who are battling depression and anxiety and not able to have just the ability to be the best versions of themselves in regards to mood. We're changing the trajectory of people having quality of life that is just happiness, is awesome, and taking anxiety and stress off the table for people. We are living in a stressed out society. I mean, we can't go anywhere with something that comes up on our phone that just goes, whoa, this is crazy. Where are we going as a society? It's unnerving. But man, to take the pressure off of our body on a biological level is huge. It's huge. I don't know if y'all know this, but we have a nerve that runs from our gut to our brain. It's called the vagus nerve. It's what sends the signal when our microbiome is out of balance, that whole ecosystem within our gut. And so when we're sad, we think it's up here in our mind because it's our thought process, right? Well, it's actually this vagus nerve that's sending the signal to our brain that says, we're imbalanced. We've got dysbiosis here. And that's why we're sad. That's why we're anxious. Not because unhealthy thoughts are starting here. They start here in the gut. So it's so powerful. When you think about that powerhouse, our second brain of our body, it is huge for people. When you can help them change the quality of their mood is a big deal. So the reason why I went to nutrition school was because I was helping people change their ability to have a less desire for sugar. Say we put them on ProBio 5 and we're healing their gut. We've got them on Plexus Slim, balancing their blood sugar. Cravings are gone and they're still eating the chocolate cake. And I was like, wait a minute. Don't you just want this to be easy? Because cravings are biological. So if we can get them to go away on the inside where we're not actually wanting them, isn't that what you want? And I couldn't understand the disconnect that was happening for people socially to still eat those things when they weren't craving them. And so I was just so grateful for the opportunity to have gone to the school, because they taught a very unique nutrition theory that really, really can be helpful when you're working with people. And it's this concept called primary foods. So we used to have a food pyramid. Remember the food pyramid? You would avoid the things at the top and have more of the things at the bottom. Well, now we have a food plate. So it's like this, and we've got our healthy fats, our oils, our water, our protein, our starches and carbs, our fruits and vegetables. And so, but on the outside of this plate is this nutrition theory that we call primary foods. So primary foods are your relationships, they're your spiritual life, they're your career, and they are your activity. So activity / exercise, something where you're moving, you're being viable. And typically what happens when I work with people is I ask them, that's one of the very first things we talk about, is I have them number these 4 primary foods, 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. Because typically what happens is if a person has a career that is just tanking, it's a job, it's a paycheck, it's, it's not feeding them. It's not adding value to their life. They're just there for the check. Say that's a 2. Spirituality. They have no relationship. They don't know why they're here on earth. They don't pray. They don't have no spiritual life whatsoever. Let's call that a 1. No hope too, right? No hope. There's just so many things in our society that are taking away their hope. Things that they see in the news. Maybe their relationships are okay. Maybe it's a 5 or a 6. And maybe the activity, maybe they go for a walk a couple of times a week. So we'll call that a 4. But typically what happens is when the lower those numbers are on the outside of the food plate, when we sit down for a meal, the primary foods impact the secondary foods. Because when we come home from a job that we hate and we got in a fight with our spouse, what are we doing with our food? We're eating emotionally, and we're feeding those emotions. And that's powerful, because I found that, so for the people that were struggling with helping them on a biological level where their sugar cravings were going away, but then they were able to dial in and get their primary foods up. And we talk about, okay, so what can we do to help get those primary foods up? Then the emotional eating diminished. That desire for the chocolate cake was rectified on a biological level, and then we got to heal it on an emotional level too. So very, very powerful when you can help people dial in both the emotional aspect of food and the physical aspect, because it helps bring it full circle. In my mind, I wasn't having success with people. If I was helping them on a biological level and they still ate the chocolate cake, failure in my eyes. I wasn't helping them. And I am very much a yellow personality, helper by nature. So it was failure to me, because I had led them to what would help the biological component, but I wasn't able to help the emotional aspect of it. So it really helped me help people have a lot more success when I'm working with people one-on-one to help get to that place where they are more and more optimally well. And it's not a hurdle that you overcome in a couple of months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime of healing. It's this constant working in the direction of progress, but constantly having tremendous amount of hope, because they have answers for the problems. And that's really what we have, is solutions for people's problems. So if you figure out a way to educate people on the solution that you have, how you win with these products, with this opportunity, how it helps bring your life full circle, the more you can paint that picture for people, the more you're going to attract people who really truly need both aspects of this amazing opportunity. It's given our family huge hope. My husband walked away from a 25-year law enforcement career back in July of this year. because of this opportunity. My oldest son has had 4 years of college without any student loans because of this opportunity. We have a savings because of this opportunity, debt-free because of this opportunity. So it really truly is profound, because I know that 70% of our society is paycheck to paycheck, and the average household credit card debt for our society is $15,000. So there's really no light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of households. And to be perfectly honest, when the financial aspect is there, it's a very strong hold. It has very much a strong hold on people's lives. When they lay their head on the pillow at night, they're not necessarily thinking about their gut health, their blood sugar, their inflammation. They're figuring out, how in the world am I going to make my car payment, my mortgage, retirement, college, braces, car payment for the kids that's coming up on 16 years of age? And that's what's impacting our society. That sends a series of events of spiral out of control, not sleeping, adrenal fatigue, stress, adrenal hormones, cortisol, weight comes on. It starts in many, many households with the finances. So that's all I have to share tonight. I'd like to open it up for questions, Dusty, if you would like. It looks like there's some chat, maybe some chat questions. Let's see here. You do have Hashimoto's. Okay, great. There's hope. There's hope for that illness, for sure. I know that I've already helped a lot of people, and I'm grateful for that. I know that autoimmunity is powerful, and what really breaks my heart for autoimmunity, especially, like, say for example, Hashimoto's. So like with Hashimoto's, when the gut has leaked and has caused the body to go into that inflammation state, which attacks the thyroid for Hashimoto's, what we have is leaky gut. And what breaks my heart is that people typically who get their diagnosis for thyroid disease is that they're given a thyroid pill, but they're not asking the question, what caused my thyroid? Why is my thyroid not working? Now, so people take their orange pill, their orange pharmaceutical bottle, whatever it is, maybe it's a natural thyroid, whatever, and they never ask why. Why has the body down, and what can we do to help heal the body so that we work in the direction of getting to the root of the illness? Because taking a pharmaceutical or a natural thyroid is not the answer to the problem. The problem is you have to ask yourself, why has this happened? So with autoimmunity, what I love about our products is there's a lot of research that points to omega-3s and how powerful and healing they are to helping seal up those holes in leaky gut. So for those who are struggling with autoimmunity, it's really, really important that a couple of things happen. One, you seal the holes up, but you also have to stop the gut from leaking. And there's 3 things that cause the gut to leak, and that is pesticides, candida yeast, and our now mainstream modified gluten. Those 3 things. So if you go in and you seal up the holes with omega-3s, but then you still continue to eat mainstream gluten, produce and fruit with pesticides, and have a yeast overgrowth in the digestive system, you're perforating new holes. If you continue to perforate holes, new holes, and you don't seal up the other ones, you're just going to end up with this massive permeated intestinal lining that never gets help in the direction of healing. So it's really, really important to not only seal up the holes, but stop perforating new holes. So anyone else with any kind of autoimmunity, it's super, super important that we work in the direction of sealing and not putting new holes in the digestive lining. So are you sharing your screen with us?
It looks like Mark Adams shared his screen, and I don't know, I'm unable to unshare that. So Mark, if you can hear me, if you could unshare your screen, that would be wonderful. Anyways, so I mean,
okay.
Seriously, y'all, what kind of information we have received tonight is absolutely incredible, Carrie. My gosh, sharing from your heart, your knowledge, your experience, the things you have come and contact you, what you have learned, what you have, how you've helped people, and then the knowledge you know about yourself. I just feel like we're so abundantly blessed to have heard you tonight sharing all that.
No, you're welcome. It's the honor and pleasure is mine. So if anybody has questions, I'm happy to answer if you've got my ear. So
yeah, feel free to unmute and ask anything while you have her. You must have done a really good job, Carrie. Oh, there's Kara.
I'm curious. Do you still coach people?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm messaging you then.
Okay.
I've had great results for 3 years, but I've had some things pop up. So I think it's probably more related to my diet and stuff.
Yeah, and that happens too. Even even when I added the new formulated pink drink to my regimen, I went through not big, but I went through a couple of days of healing, and it was kind of an eye-opening experience because I feel really, really good, but I have not arrived, right? And so it's a good place to be where you're not arriving, because you have too much confidence in that, then you become complacent and too self-confident in that. So, and even adding the biome too, when that came out as well, went through some additional healing, not too much, but it was just enough to show me, that there's still some healing taking place in my body. And it's very, very, I just love our products because it reassures that we're getting to the root of those underlying issues there. And a lot of people are intimidated by it and they get discouraged by it. I'm like, I'm excited by it. I'm like, I'm getting fixed. I'm getting well. We're getting to the root of this. This is awesome. But even, gosh, you go on vacation for a week, you can undo a lot. I mean, just dining out 3 meals a day for 7 days can undo a lot of wellness in our body. It's powerful. Nutrition is very, very powerful. And that's why I'm so grateful, gosh, to have these supplements on board, because it keeps us to where when we get back, we're not completely spiraled out of control, right? We're in a way better position than we were had we not had them. But it does, and gosh, even life events happen. I know when my middle son, when he went away to the military 4 years ago, it just was like a sock to the gut for me. Emotionally, it was hard, and just went through some additional healing there too, because I was sad. I was just constantly, just concerned about his well-being and was he safe? And that, believe it or not, it can hurt a person to have that kind of life challenge happen. But good news is we have hope, and we get to, continue to recover it and move past it. So is that helpful? Good. So I'm reading this other. My husband had high potassium problems. I haven't got him on anything other than Probio 5 and BioCleanse. Type 1 diabetic. Connie, I would suggest doing some sort of liver support for him. If you've never done any genetic testing, I'd be curious to know if he's positive for the MTHFR. Sounds like a bad word, but it's not. MTHFR gene mutation. You're probably going to want to do some liver support for that. There's a couple of natural remedies out there for liver support. Milk thistle with dandelion root. Artichoke is another great liver support. And then N-acetyl L-cysteine, and if you message me, I can give you those as well, and I can even share you the links of what I use. I just get them off of a high quality supplier on Amazon. So definitely want to do some liver support, because if he's got high potassium, it means his body's not getting rid of it in the means. Our liver it's right here, right next to our stomach, right underneath our breast there. It's the largest organ, and it's the first organ that filters everything out of our body. And a lot of times it's the first thing to get congested, because it is that first pathway for detox, for filtering everything through our body. Even our blood glucose gets balanced through that process. And so liver takes a lot of hits for a lot of things, and it's important to make sure that we keep those pathways open. So there's a lot of great natural things, natural solutions. I do liver support every day, but I am pre-genetically disposed. I do have that gene mutation. So it's really what caused my autoimmunity. I always wondered what came first, the chicken or the egg, because there are a lot of things that could cause Hashimoto's, and it really helped me to learn that genetic predisposition, not only for me, but for my family, because it's predominant for me. Both my parents have that mutation as well, which means probably my kids have it as well. It's a strong carrier for it. So health education, I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. They're based out of New York. One of the best decisions I ever made. I absolutely loved it. Made a lot of great relationships there, and just learned so much from the leaders in the wellness industry. It was such a blessing to be able to go there. I'm so grateful for that education and that opportunity. It gave me my board certification as a holistic health practitioner. I'm board certified with the American Association of Drugless Practitioners, so AADP certified. So proud of that too, because there's a time and place for medicine. Trust me, if I get in a car accident and I end up in a hospital or whatever, God forbid, would happen, there's a lot of things that the medical community are do wonderful things for, and I don't ever want to minimize or demonize the medical community, but there's just a time and a place for them, and grateful for what they offer. But when it comes to wellness, that's not it for me. That's not who I want teaching me on wellness. And granted, it's their training, it's their education. They go to school to learn how to dispense pharmacy. Look at a symptom and what's the pharmacy I can match up to this symptom. So they're not taught to ask the question why, and they don't actually get but maybe 5 or 6 weeks of nutrition education. So it's unfortunate, but the good news is we do have a lot more people in the medical community who are starting to come around and see the more holistic approach to things that are powerful, and how powerful it is. I think by far and large, it has to do with a lot of them with their personal lives, and they're being impacted by our nutrition. So they're seeing it impact other people. So anyways, that's where I went to school. Explain some more about adrenal fatigue, which products address that. Gosh, okay, so adrenal fatigue, what happens is adrenal fatigue is what precipitates a lot of things in our body, because when our adrenals are taxed, we build cortisol, and that cortisol hormone actually, in many cases for people, will cause storage of fat, which is unfortunate, because a lot of people are doing well in the nutrition arena and even getting exercise, but they have high levels of stress, and maybe they even compound it, and they're coffee drinkers or caffeine drinkers, which taxes their adrenals more. When the adrenals are taxed, that shuts off the thyroid, and then also you have this compounding cortisol that stores to fat as well. So a lot of hormonal imbalances go out with the adrenals. The good news is there's an easy fix for it. There's a lot of herbal remedies out on the market that I've used in the past with adrenal fatigue. Occasionally I do go through a bout of additional just life circumstances, whatever, high stress, just different things, just life. And I'll take something at night to help support that adrenal fatigue. And I can, if you message me, I'll get you the one that I use for nighttime to help. And it doesn't take too long to help restore it, provided you do the other nutritional components, like not doing outside caffeine and stuff to further tax the adrenals. So anybody that has adrenal fatigue really should not be on our products that have the stimulatory effect, like Boost and Accelerator, Edge, until they get their adrenals well, and then they can add that in, because caffeine just taxes the adrenals. It's really hard on the adrenal glands. So it's that hormone that we call our flight or fight hormone. Like when if somebody scares you and you're like, all of a sudden your heart starts pounding, it's that flight or fight. You're preparing to take action. That's our adrenal hormone, and it's powerful. And it's often caused by excess stimulation, basically. Yeah.
Wow. What an education we're getting tonight. I mean, so much overflow, but I mean, knowledge from a very special lady that gave us time out of her evening. This is actually when she should be eating dinner with her family, and she gave it to us. So don't y'all feel so
We had a really dinner tonight. Taco Tuesday. We had it done by 5 o'clock, so we're good.
Thanks for eating early for us.
Yay, no problem, no problem.
It means so much to us to have you jump on here tonight and share all your knowledge.
Anytime, glad to share.
So we will let Carrie go back to her family. Everybody give her a big thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good night, everyone.